Specter in the 2004 Republican primary. A potential rematch this year prompted Specter to become a Democrat. Pat Toomey is a former Pennsylvania congressman and also the former CEO of Club for Growth, which promotes lower taxes and a leaner government. The primary this year, May the 18th. Other candidates in the race have been invited for separate appearances. We are delighted to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, at this stage of the game, we're talking, there are a lot of polls that are out that are saying that the Republicans are really going to take the Congress and the Senate in this next election year. Give me your take on that, and how do you see it reflecting in your campaign?
Well, it's hard to say. The election's still 6 months away, but I do think there is a very strong movement. I think voters believe that Washington has run off the tracks. The government has grown way too big, spending too much money, getting way too involved in parts of the economy it doesn't belong in. So I do think there's a real opportunity for Republicans to make big gains, but we've got to earn that race by race, and so I'm not going to take anything for granted. I'm not going to assume that there's any big national trend. I'm just going to reach out to the voters of Pennsylvania and make my case.
There are some people also who think that President Obama is moving in the wrong direction, or they're at best split on how he's handling the economy, how he's handling other issues. What's your take on that?
Well, I think he's definitely gone off in the wrong direction. I think what we have is we've got one-party control in Washington. The Democrats have complete control of the elected government. They've been captured by the most liberal wing of that party, and they're pursuing an agenda that's not good for our economy, and it's really not consistent with what's made America such a great and successful country. I'm thinking of serial bailouts of failing companies, nationalizing whole industries, spending on an unprecedented scale, deficits and debt that we can't afford, way too big of a government role in health care. So I think there's a real sense among the Pennsylvania voters I talk to that this is all too much, and we need some balance in Washington, and we need to rein in some of the excesses.
Well, let's look at financial reform. Is the way that the process is moving forward now, in your opinion, the right direction or the wrong direction?
Well, this is still an open question. We've got legislation that's just getting to the Senate floor, so we'll see what happens. There's four big things that I think we ought to be doing with financial regulatory reform. The first is we need a mechanism to resolve the failure of a very large institution. During the financial crisis, it was clear that we didn't have something, and so we had this ad hoc bailout policy, which doesn't work very well. I think the proper way to do this is through bankruptcy, so that taxpayers are not put on the hook to bail out failing institutions. And I'm afraid that the Dodd bill would in fact create a category that's too big to fail and put taxpayers on the hook. The second big thing we need to do is that there was enormous growth in derivative contracts, staggering growth in the last few years. And many of those contracts were engaged in without putting aside the capital to make sure that counterparties could make good on their payments. That became a problem, and we need to fix that. And I think we can, and we should be able to agree on that. I think another important thing to do is make sure that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are properly regulated. These are the biggest financial institutions in America. They're the ones that went most badly wrong. They are the ones that are continuing to cost taxpayers unlimited amounts of money. It's a huge problem, and this bill is silent about Fannie and Freddie. I think that's a big mistake. Last thing I mentioned briefly is the Consumer Protection Agency. It's important to integrate that with other regulators, especially the regulators that are responsible for safety and soundness, so that banks have a consistent message from the regulators. So I hope we can accomplish those things.
The thing that's interesting is that you look at the stock market,
right,
and the stock market has done much better. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think what's happened is a lot of companies have become considerably more profitable than they were a couple of years ago. So earnings are up, but job growth isn't there at all. These companies have become more profitable by cutting costs and not by growing total sales. So their greater profitability has led to higher stock prices, but it's not been a general economic recovery, and that's what we got to focus on, job growth.
Yeah, so this is interesting. The president has put his signature on a $17.5 billion jobs bill, and includes tax breaks that are designed to spur hiring and also to help small business owners. Is it your opinion that something like that will work? I mean, that's essentially what you're saying.
Yes, except that the actual execution was terrible. You know, it's very, very narrowly targeted. It's targeted in a complex way for new hires, depending on various parameters. The average small business isn't going to be able to take advantage of this. I think we're much better off with broad-based tax cuts, lowering the corporate tax rate, for instance. We have the second highest in the industrialized world. We ought to lower that so that our workers can compete better internationally, a lower capital gains rate so that we encourage entrepreneurs to make investments and small businesses to grow. Those kinds of broad-based tax cuts create the kind of incentives for strong and sustainable economic growth rather than little narrow targeted tax credits.
So ultimately, if you had a crystal ball, I mean, what do you expect? Do you think that we can really see some sustainable job growth in the future? I mean, it appears to me when you talk to some business owners that they're finding that, you know, yes, their profits are up a little bit, their bottom line looks a little bit better to them, and they're finding that they can actually do more and better with fewer people. So what's your take on that?
Well, you know, the only time when we can confidently say we've got a strong recovery underway is when we have strong job growth, and everybody who wants a job has a job or has an opportunity to get a job. That's got to be the goal. Yeah, we can get there, absolutely. We're going to get there, though, through growth in the private sector. Growing government doesn't get us there. You know, more borrowing and spending doesn't get us there. The government's already draining all the private savings out of the economy. So I think we've got to get spending under control. We've got to end bailouts of failing institutions. We should look for ways to lower the tax burden to encourage more investment and encourage economic growth in the private sector, job creation in the private sector. That's what's going to get us out of this economic slowdown.
You know, this weekend there are a lot of protests involving the immigration controversy and the new state law that is on the books in Arizona. Give me your take on that. Do we need to protect the borders from illegal immigrants?
Yes. Oh, yes. I think it's a fundamental obligation, responsibility of the federal government to secure borders. That's part of what being a nation is. And the fact is the federal government has done a lousy job. Now, it's a very different story in Arizona, a state that's right on the border, than it is, say, in Pennsylvania. And so when you consider that Arizona has borne the brunt of a lot of not only illegal immigrants, but that subset of them that are criminals. There's been criminal activity on the border. There are Arizona ranchers who've been shot and killed. So I don't think we should be surprised that the legislature there has decided to take matters in their own hands. I do think there have been legitimate questions raised about civil liberties and how the actual implementation and enforcement of this rule will work.
To some, it really appears as if it's racial profiling.
And there's a danger of that. So I think we've got to watch carefully to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think we have to also understand that Washington doesn't always have all the answers. Washington hasn't done a very good job of securing the borders, and a state is going to take matters into its own hand when it's bearing the brunt of this failed policy.
Okay, so tell me this. Why is it that you really want this job?
You know, I'm convinced that the federal government has gone off on the wrong track. I don't think it's right for America, certainly not for Pennsylvania, for us to be just growing the government in leaps and bounds, borrowing money that we can't afford to pay back it's going to diminish the opportunities for our kids, bailing out failing companies, cap and trade, card check, government-run health care. This is too much, and I think it's a movement in the wrong direction. Most of my adult life has been in the private sector. I've been a small business guy. My brothers and I started restaurant companies. We hired Pennsylvanians. I know what it is to create jobs. I understand how to get an economy moving again, and I think I can play a constructive role, providing some balance in Washington, encouraging private sector job growth, and getting wasteful spending under control.
But what's in your gut, though, that says that I really want this job?
Because I can do it. You know, I can win this race. I can go to Washington and represent Pennsylvania, and I know where prosperity comes from. It comes from a free enterprise system, and we've got to restore the incentives to allow that to grow, and I know how to do that.
What do you want people to know about Senator Specter, who is now a Democrat, and his opponent Joe Sestak in the primary? What do you want the voters to know about them?
They're two very, very different guys. You know, I've had several debates now with Joe Sestak. Arlen Specter refuses to have a debate with Joe Sestak. He's going to have one, at the time when the fewest people possible are watching. And it's unfortunate, because after 30 years in the Senate, Arlen Specter should be willing to defend his record, but he can't. It's because he's been on both sides of every issue, and pretty systematically. And so now we see he's launching these very negative character attacks against Joe Sestak. Joe Sestak's a different kind of guy. He's a very liberal. He's a liberal ideologue, far to the left of the consensus of Pennsylvania. But at least he believes in something. At least he stands for something. He's willing to defend it. So Joe and I have debated policy. We disagree completely, but I think we've disagreed in a way that's not disagreeable. We've done it civilly, and I think we ought to. Our politics ought to be more civil, and we ought to be able to have discussions without impugning the character of people that disagree with us.
All right, Pat Toomey, thank you very much.